What up, everyone? So, back with more Marvel vs. Capcom information. I said I was going to do a video every time there was new information out there, and there is the very next day. So, there's 2 days in a row of this type of video. Obviously, this isn't always going to happen. There's going to be lots of other things in between, but there just happens to be a lot happening this weekend. So, 2 videos and lots to talk about. So, thank you for everyone that commented on the last one, and I want to talk more about this. So, today, first of all, there was a replay of the Capcom Cup streamed on ESPN2, which I still think is kind of weird, by the way. I get that the whole like esports things, like this is becoming a sport now, but what isn't these days? I just think it's weird that they're playing on ESPN. I think they're marketing to the wrong audience. I just think it's a weird concept. And the whole thing was like, the thing that really made it weird was like, when they did the replay of the Capcom Cup from yesterday, James Chen and Ultra David came on to explain the rules of Street Fighter V, and they were talking about like how the point of the game is to decrease your opponent's health bar down to 0, and they were pointing out things on the screen. It's like they're dumbing it down too much, and that's what I think they're trying to get to the wrong market. It's just like, I don't know. I just thought it was really weird. If anyone saw that, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's not important. The point was, they replayed it today, and today they were giving new information, a new trailer. And again, it wasn't really a new trailer, it's just the final part to the original trailer. Apparently they broke it up into 3 parts, and I saw a video earlier from the head of the game development from Capcom and Marvel. They had an interview earlier today, which I posted on social media about, and they said they were releasing 2 new characters today in a new trailer. So basically, what that was, if you haven't seen it, you can check it out pretty much anywhere. I'd be showing you now, but due to licensing rights, I can't show that video, but I'll do my best to show pictures. Anyway, the video showed 2 new characters, very obvious ones that everyone could have guessed. I said in the last video that someone mentioned that Captain America was confirmed, so I'm guessing whoever that person was obviously had seen that full trailer before, because Captain America was released in the very first trailer the next day. So Captain America and Morgan. So 2 characters anyone could have guessed would have been in the game. Very popular in each franchise, so no surprise there. I hope they do change up Morgan a little bit. In Marvel vs. Capcom 3, she was super annoying. The character itself and what she did with the constant soul fist, like, it was very annoying. So I hope that they do change her up a bit, because she just got annoying to watch after a while. So there's that. But anyway, so this interview I was watching, it was the people that were developing the game, and there was 1 person from Marvel and 1 person from Capcom, and they were the lead people, and they were interviewing them both, and they had a lot of information. So we're going to talk about what they talked about in that interview, and also a little bit of a breakdown of the trailer, more things to expect, and what we did see there. So, first off, in the trailer, things that you may have noticed that are different. Iron Man 1, obviously they're doing it more towards the cinematic version of Iron Man. They kind of did in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and they are in this one as well. As far as I can tell, I may be wrong, but it looks like the suit that Iron Man is wearing is the Mark 42, which is from Iron Man 3, or it may have been a variation of one of the ones we saw in Avengers 2 or Civil War. They kind of got similar after that again. So it's one of the ones we've seen recently in the cinematic universe. Captain America, however, has a different suit. And it seems like a hybrid between what we've seen in comic books and Marvel vs. Capcom and what we see in the cinematic universe. Kind of seems like a blend of those 2. So I'm happy they're not going full cinematic and trying to make the character look like the movie Captain America. I like that they're still keeping in the comic book style, kind of. I think he looks really good, though. I think the suit he has looks pretty cool, but it seems like a mix between the 2, which I think is fine. Morgan looks exactly the same. Ryu looks exactly the same. Mega Man is technically a new character, and that's something I want to talk about. Mega Man was a character I used in Marvel vs. Capcom 2 and Marvel vs. Capcom 1, so he looked the same for a while, but X is actually a totally different character. And you can tell by his moveset. If you watch the trailer, he does a hyper combo, and it's completely different than anything Mega Man did, so it's totally different. Also, we noticed that, I'm guessing this is one of his hyper moves, that he gains his suit, one of the suits he wore in Mega Man X. So I'm guessing that's kind of a power-up thing. It may have something to do with one of the gems. I'm not totally sure at this point, but that's something to note, that it is like a completely new character, that it's nothing like Mega Man. But Iron Man and Ryu, you can see, and Morgan, you can see from their combos, they're pretty much identical as far as their moves to Marvel vs. Capcom 3. And this may be a good thing. And that may mean, since they're borrowing moves from Marvel vs. Capcom 3, which is totally plausible that they do, they like to keep it congruent, that may mean that there's going to be room for more characters. Because if the company isn't taking individual time to reinvent every character, come up with new moves, and rebalance it, since they're not doing that and kind of just shifting it from the old one to the new one, that means they may have time to just make more characters and make more moves for new characters. So that may end up being a good thing. And I really don't think they need to change it much. Hold on a sec. Pup! Stop! Get over here. Hey! Sorry, he's making a bunch of noise back there. He's driving me crazy. Sorry about that. And he's making me lose my train of thought. Stop! I'll have to edit that out. Come here. Get up here. Come here. Chewing on stuff. Driving me crazy. Trying to do a video. Anyway, like I was saying, so that may end up being a good thing that that they're not reinventing every single character. Because honestly, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was great. There's nothing they really need to fix about it. So it's fine if they import old moves to the new system to save time and put that time towards maybe developing new characters and things like that. So that may end up being a very good thing. Also, something you saw in the video is the Infinity Stones. This is going to be a major mechanic in the game, and this was confirmed in the interview that I watched with the two heads of Capcom and Marvel. And basically that's going to add a big mechanic to the game, and that's what's going to make it different for every team, because you get to choose two characters, and instead of choosing assists like you did in Marvel vs. Capcom 1, you're going to choose a stone. And there's 5 stones, unless they're adding more, which I don't think they are. You'll choose one, and that'll be your team's stone. And each one does something different. Power Stone, obviously, I would assume gives you more power. And I think the Time Stone had something to do with speed, kinda. And each one will have something different about it that'll apply differently to different characters. So you'll pick one, and you can switch it up whatever you want, but that'll be something that you'll decide when you pick your characters, which is kind of cool. So that'll add a certain mechanic to the game, and that'll be a big part of it. And also, it's obvious that they're promoting the Infinity Wars thing that's going on with the Avengers in the movie, so that's obviously going to tie in hand. One thing else to notice about the trailer, you'll notice that there is air combos where they switch characters. The TAC that you did in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, it was always in the air. It was an air combo where you could trade between characters. Now, from what it looks like, and it was confirmed in this interview, you can now trade characters and do the tactical combo where you switch characters at any point. So you saw Mega Man and Ryu doing this on the ground and mid-jump and full jump. So it seems that they've added that mechanic to it. Before, in Marvel vs. Capcom 3, you could switch between characters only in the air, though, and only to each character once. But it seems like in this one you can do that at any time, which seems to be, could be a pretty cool mechanic. And the way they were explaining it in the interview is they want to do things like the hyper combos and the air, I can't remember the name they used for it, the air switching. There's a specific name, I'm sounding stupid, but they want to make it so you can do those moves at any time in the game. You don't have to wait to a certain point, so you can optimize your combos and really make them creative, which is a good thing. So, what's next? So, something else they mentioned in the interview. There's actually going to be a story mode in this one. Now, it's funny because they've said that before so many times. When Marvel vs. Capcom 3, the trailer was released, they said specifically that there's going to be a story mode, that they're going to focus on the story. And everyone knows they did not. There was 0 story mode in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The most we got was if you beat it with a character, you got 2 pictures at the end with a description. That's not a story mode. That's nothing. So they said they were going to focus on the story mode, and they did not at all. Now, whether that was their plan all along and they thought that was a story mode, or they intended to do a story mode and then later on decided not to, we don't know for sure. We never got that confirmed from the company. But they say at this point that there's going to be a confirmed story mode and that Mega Man X and Captain Marvel are going to be like the leaders of that story. They're going to be the main focus of it, and there's going to be a story behind why these two worlds collide. Because at this point, it's the 4th game in the series, and there's been no story. There's nothing to it where it explained anything, really, besides a brief description at the beginning of the game. So they said there's going to be an actual story. Whether the story mode's going to have any sort of cutscenes and be more like Mortal Kombat, where there's an actual story mode and cutscenes to it, that's probably pretty doubtful. Not that they couldn't do that, but with the amount of characters that they might have in this game, it would be pretty difficult to do. Not to say that they can't, it would be really cool, but it's hard to say what that story mode will include at this point. But they did confirm that it will have a pretty detailed story mode at this point. They also talked about things like character tiers and certain choices they made. The people that were there, the one from Capcom, one from Marvel, actually seemed very knowledgeable, which is very encouraging because it's the worst thing when you see an interview from game developers and they know a lot about game mechanics, but they know nothing about the characters or the universe they come from. These guys seem very knowledgeable and seem to know what they were doing. So they also touched on the fact that competitive play is a big deal nowadays, that especially because like it was streaming on ESPN, so it's a big deal. And the fact that they recognize that there are tier lists and that Marvel vs. Capcom 3 did have that problem. It was balanced for the most part. It was pretty well balanced, but everyone who's watched any competitive play on Marvel vs. Capcom, you definitely see a lot of characters, specific characters show up a lot more than others. And they said they want to fix that problem. So they're hoping this whole gem mechanic will do that. It'll help balance out the characters so that not one character or a group of like 2 or 3 is being played all the time, which is going to be great. It's going to be great for competitive play, and it's going to be great to watch other competing people play as well. It'll keep it interesting, which I think is good. Let's see what else. Yeah, so I think that was most of the information, most of what I got from the trailer. Yeah, those most of the things I saw new. But yeah, if you haven't checked out that interview, I'll try to put a link in the description to that specific interview. It's only about 10 minutes long, but they talk a lot more in depth about these things. But for me, it seems pretty hopeful. So far, everything I've seen looks pretty good. There's a lot in question, like how many characters we're going to get and how the game's going to work out, but I'm pretty hopeful. I love the Marvel vs. Capcom series, and the way I saw the combos in the video, it looks very similar to the Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and the Marvel vs. Capcoms of the past. It's fast-paced, and I was actually playing Marvel vs. Capcom 2 earlier today, so I'm happy to see like a lot of those characters return. And we'll just hope to see. Honestly, for my character hopes, I hope they do a lot of new characters. At least ones that we didn't just see in Marvel vs. Capcom 3. The release of Captain America and Morgan was an obvious character choice, but I wasn't too excited about them, as much as I was like Mega Man X. So I'd like them to bring back like Venom, I'm sure we might see, or like new Mega Man characters or stuff like that. I hope they keep it fresh though. I don't want to see a bunch of repeat characters. I want to see some new ones, try out some new stuff, but here's the hoping. So I did 2 videos in a row, and it might be a long gap of time before we do another video, because that's usually how it always happens with game releases. They release the trailer, and then there's just kind of nothing for a while, and then they start leaking information slowly. So I'm guessing it'll probably be, unless there's one more part of the trailer they're just not showing us, it'll probably be like a few weeks, probably a month before we see anything super substantial as far as new characters or anything like that. But there's always information, there's always things to talk about, leaks and things like that, so we'll just keep the ball rolling. Anyway, let me know what you guys think about this information, what you think about adding these mechanics to the game will mean, and what you'd like to see, what you're excited for, maybe some characters you'd like to see, anything like that. If we don't get any information soon, I'm going to do a short little video talking about the X-Men characters in the game, how they could be included in the game, what's the probability that they will be in it. So I'm going to try my best to be a source of all information and do a lot of research on these things. But if there's things you'd like to see, questions about it, just let me know. So we're going to keep this ball rolling and keep talking about it. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the comments. Let's talk about this. Thank you all for watching and listening. I appreciate your time. Love you all. Peace.